I look at this slogan that's been put out by this despicable governor of Texas and his emergency chief, his health dictator. And he's got a new little slogan. They've got the one, you see this everywhere, all the different states, threatening you about seatbelt usage, right? Click it or ticket. Click it or ticket. You can just hear Barney Fife in the background. We got to nip it in the bud right there. Click it or ticket, Well, now they've got another one. Mask it or casket. Mask it or casket. Well, Abbott, hey, Abbott, nobody's dying, okay? The death rate has collapsed. Here in this article, not that long ago, there was one lab in the nation that was capable of returning a COVID-19 test. So how did we get a pandemic? They didn't know. They just presumed a pandemic. Now we have over 960 sites where you can give a specimen, and you got hundreds of labs that are doing COVID-19 tests. And guess what? This guy's name is Kid. Yeah, he must be kidding us. You've got to be kidding, hey, Abbott. Now, as the number of cases are exploding, guess what? The case fatality rate is imploding. It's collapsing. It's down to being the same as flu. I said this was going to happen. I was accused by Mike Adams of not knowing math. I said, they're cooking the books on this. And I said to Mike Adams that you don't know your sources. You're going with the CDC numbers. They're lying to you. They don't even have any tests. They admit they don't have any tests. Now they're saying, well, we didn't have any tests before, but now we got tests, and look at how dangerous it is. No. They were presuming numbers and inflating a case fatality rate to make this look like it was worse than 1918. And now as they do these tests, it's exactly the opposite. All right, the Atlanta mayor says that she has tested positive for COVID-19. Didn't even know she had it. I've had no symptoms, but I've tested positive. How about that? Oh, well, now look at this. You look at the headlines everywhere. She's going to die. Oh, that happened at CPAC as well, right? I hope she doesn't die. She's 50 years old. Very, very low probability that anything at all will happen to her. Very, very low probability. If you look at the case fatality rate based on age, virtually zero. She doesn't have any symptoms, but she had a positive test. A positive test. You know what her real risk of dying is from? Shootings, the violence in Atlanta. The governor in Georgia, Brian Kemp, declared a state of emergency because they had 31 people injured, 5 killed in Atlanta. They've deployed 1,000 National Guard troops. Kemp, a Republican, said peaceful protests were hijacked by criminals. No, they weren't. Governor, you're wrong about that. They worked together in tandem. I read you the document from the Antifa Black Lives Matter people talking about how they would use the peaceful protesters up front as a beard. And then they would, when they would attack and embed themselves in with the peaceful protesters, they would do an attack and then fade back in, use them as a buffer, hoping that the police would attack the peaceful protesters who were there. But yeah, that's the real risk in Atlanta. We'll talk more about that coming up. But when we look at what is happening here in Texas, Ron Paul is pointing out that the Texas COVID surge is nothing but fake news. And the governor's decree, says Ron Paul, he cited a rise in COVID cases, a rise in test positives, and a rise in hospitalizations as justification to force everybody to cover their faces in public and to threaten us with $250 fines. I'm done with Abbott. You should be done with anybody who does this. I don't care what else they have done, good or bad. When you enact these kinds of unconstitutional, draconian measures without any justification, legally or scientifically, you should be done with people like this, especially when it is done in reaction to a Twitter mob. I'm finished with Abbott. You should be finished with any Republicans who do this. It doesn't matter what their office is or what they've done in the past. If they're going along with this globalist takedown of our country, that's it. That is the dividing line for these people. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about this country. They don't care about your liberties or the Bill of Rights that they swore to uphold. They don't care about any of this stuff. You should not hold to these people because they're Republicans. Ron Paul is a little bit more charitable than I am. Ron Paul says Abbott may have based his executive order on inaccurate information. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he's just stupid. Maybe he doesn't know the law, even though he's a lawyer, right? This was, and he talks about the report that we had about a week ago from Rob Dew and from Alex Jones. He doesn't reference that report, but it is the same information that came out by the Collin County Judge Chris Hill that we went into such detail over a week ago. And just to recap that, it was back in mid-May. They decided they would redefine what a COVID case was so that they could get a second wave. You know, as Fauci said, a surge. Got to have a surge. So this was the meeting that we had in the report. Rob Dew, Alex Jones showed you video clips from the meeting and analyzed that for you as well. May 18th, Collin County Commissioner's Court hearing. They said, while previously the termination of a COVID case was a confirmed case, now they suddenly changed the definition to probable cases. Probable. Well, what is probable? Well, it was pretty ridiculous. As the judge said in that video that you can see at InfoWarsStore.com, not InfoWars Store, but at InfoWars.com, if you have a subjective fever, you don't even have to measure the fever, right? You don't have to get a positive for COVID-19. You don't even have to get a positive for the fever. It's a subjective fever. I kind of feel feverish. Okay, COVID-19, write that down here. And you have a headache. You got a subjective fever and you've got a headache. And you live in Collin County. You now meet the qualifications to be a probable COVID patient. It's remarkable how low the standard is, said the judge. As Ron Paul points out, you repeat that farce across Texas. Is there any wonder that there's a spike in cases? Also, Governor Abbott's claim that hospitals are being overrun by COVID patients was refuted by hospital directors in 4 major Houston hospitals. They held press conferences, but the media ignored that. And so he concludes by saying the basis for Abbott's unconstitutional executive order has been shown to be false. Will he admit his mistake? The second wave is driven by propaganda. That's exactly what we're seeing. And hopefully, something is going to be done about this. Let's play video clip number 2. This is a Texas state senator, Charles Perry. And we have some Republicans, hopefully, who are going to do something about this, saying we've got to have a session because you can't let Abbott rule us this way. We've got to get the legislature back in session because the legislature here in Texas only meets every other year. Let's play video clip number 2.
As coronavirus hospitalizations in Texas skyrocket to new records, some state leaders are warning Governor Greg Abbott to not overstep his authority while he tries to stop the surge.
This is Fox pushing that agenda from the
restrictions
CDC.
being put back into place, those lawmakers just voted to censure the governor over his recent executive orders.
State Senator Charles Perry joins us live with why he supports this resolution and is calling for a special legislative session. Good morning, sir.
Come on, Tom and Carly. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, all right. So what's going on here? A bunch of Republican lawmakers voted to censure the Republican governor. Why is this happening?
Well, actually, it's the local county party in Midland. So the Republican County Party can, at its determination, file for a censorship. So it's one segment or one part of the state's party decided to do the censure. You know, I think it reflects a frustration level amongst grassroots, amongst the base, but more importantly, across the state and just general everyday people, regardless of party affiliation. That's why I called or have asked the governor for a special session. For those that don't know it, we meet 5 months every 2 years. The next scheduled date is January 21 every odd year. That's 6 months away. And with where coronavirus or COVID-19 has impacted the state, the decisions that will be made, need to be made, and have been made need to be reviewed by a legislative body and not just an executive office.
That's right. That's right. One person should not be
be
dictating this to us, and especially not the one person in the White House, President Fauci or Caesar Fauci. Render unto Fauci what is due to Fauci, which is nothing. Don't give that guy anything. You know, we look at this and see headlines like Texas doctor warns patients might die for lack of beds. Because as I reported to you, I had people contact me on email talking about what was happening in Florida, for example, saying every person who comes in for anything is tested for COVID. And then if the tests, which are not very reliable, turn out to be positive, oh, you get hospitalized right away for COVID-19. Now, if you need that bed because you've got a heart attack or, cancer, suddenly anything that's even an emergency, oh, the hospital beds are filled up. Because we got somebody here who tested positive. They may not even have any symptoms with COVID-19. Maybe they came in because they broke their arm. But now we got them locked up in the hospital for COVID-19. Why? Because the federal government incentivizes that. Oh, here, write them a check for $19,000. You better bet they're going to test everybody that comes to the door for COVID-19. Meanwhile, it's about to lose its epidemic status in the U.S., according to the CDC. Why? Because an epidemic isn't the number of people that you get positive tests on who have something, but the number of people who die. And that should tell you everything. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Where the hell did this water come from? Where did it come from? Where did it come from?
InfoWarsStore.com. We can't survive without pure, clean drinking water. So make sure that it's always available to you with the Alexa Pure water filtration system. This gravity-fed system filters through all the toxins and gets straight to clean, healthy, great-tasting water. Yummy in my tummy. Bring the purest, most refreshing water to your home by ordering the Alexa Pure water filtration system today from InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsStore.com. Other systems just don't compare.